Resident Evil 9 Review. Introduction. Resident Evil 9 is a game that gave me two completely different emotions while playing it. The first half forced me to breathe slowly, conserve every bullet, and think about every single step. The second half handed me an arsenal and basically said, "All right, go break everything." And somewhere in between, I kept thinking, this could have been even better. Let's break it down. Grace, true survival horror. The sections with Grace are exactly the kind of horror I enjoy. No hero moments, no over-the-top bravado, just silence, darkness, and that uncomfortable feeling that you're going to run out of ammo at the worst possible moment. You have to conserve resources, plan your routes, hide. The game pushes you into defense mode and forces you to think. And that works. The atmosphere holds. The tension holds. The orphanage section is a good example. It has the right creepy vibe. It reminds you of older entries in the series where you weren't the hunter, you were the prey. But the level design there is very simple. It feels more like a set piece than a smart horror level. It works the first time. The second time, not so much. At certain moments, I felt restricted rather than scared. As for Grace as a character, she didn't win me over. She doesn't have strong charisma or a distinct personality. She works mechanically, but memorable, not really. Honestly, I think in a few years, I'll remember her the way I remember Ethan. I know he existed. I know I played as him. But emotionally, it didn't hit that hard. Leon the machine. Then Leon arrives, and the game shifts completely. Suddenly, you have weapons, combos, control. Leon is a machine. Nothing stops him. And yes, it's fun. But here's my issue. I feel like the developers are afraid to make a horror game with Leon as the main character. As if they think Leon is too strong to be scary. That's nonsense. Horror isn't about being weak. It's about being threatened. Mr. X proved that even powerful, iconic characters can exist within a horror framework. And here, Leon sometimes feels more like an action attraction than a true part of the horror concept. Personally, I would have been completely fine with the entire game focused just on him, but darker, more claustrophobic, more psychological. As it stands, he sometimes feels like he belongs to a slightly different game. Villains wasted potential. Now let's talk about something most reviews only lightly touch on. The villains are weak, not scary, not iconic, almost ridiculous at times. They have potential, but the game doesn't fully use it. They lack depth, strong motivation, and truly memorable scenes. In a franchise that gave us characters like Wesker and Nemesis, these antagonists feel like side characters without real weight. That's a huge missed opportunity. The second half, losing momentum. And now the weaker part, the laboratory section. This is where fatigue starts to show. The design becomes less inspired. The packing slows down, the tension fades, the game loses the energy it had at the beginning. At times, it feels more like obligatory content than a real climax. The finale didn't excite me. It didn't disappoint me either. It just didn't lift me out of my seat. And I have to say, recent Resident Evil entries often struggle to deliver truly powerful endings. This one is no exception. Story and retcons. My biggest criticism goes to the story changes. Some alterations to the series' history feel forced. Not organic, not natural. It feels like something had to be rewritten just to make the plot work. And that bothers me. Resident Evil has a long history. And when you start adjusting that history without a very strong narrative reason, fans notice. Two endings in Resident Evil. That doesn't sit well with me. I'm not a fan of uncertainty when it comes to canon. The next game might follow an ending that half the players didn't even like. For a franchise this big, I expect a clear narrative decision. Technical performance. Here, I have nothing to complain about. On PS5 Pro and an OLED TV, the game looks excellent. Lighting, detail, animations, performance, all strong. I wasn't actively looking for flaws, but I didn't notice any major ones either. Technically, it's very solid. Final verdict. Despite the weaker second half, underwhelming villains, questionable story adjustments, and a protagonist in Grace who didn't fully win me over. I had fun. The first half is excellent. The tension works. The action works. The atmosphere works. I just felt the game could have been braver, darker, more consistent. It gets my seal of quality. It's not a perfect Resident Evil, but it's a good Resident Evil. And these days, that's not a small thing.